The FTC under the Biden administration blocking several high-profile mergers in recent years, challenging deals including Kroger's Albertsons and Capri Tapestry. Now a government panel deadlocked on Nippon Steel. U.S. Steel leaves the final decision on that deal to President Biden. Let's discuss what M&A could look like under the incoming Trump administration. Former FTC Commissioner Mozelle Thompson joining us now. Happy holidays. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I mean, the assumption, obviously, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to hear what the assumption is that it's going to be way more merger-friendly. But to what degree? Do the doors just swing wide open, or are there still going to be limits?
I think that it won't be as fast and furious as some people may anticipate. The FTC is engaged in, for example, some high-profile investigations and litigation. It's going to be harder to turn that ship around. What you may see is continued emphasis on enforcement, but the focus might be slightly different. So, for example, there may be a return to looking at empirical data, whether there's actual consumer harm in the form of prices, and the clawback a little on the broadening of some of the more innovative or novel approaches that the Biden FTC took on some of the legal cases. But you might see that. You also might see things in terms of changes in rulemaking. The FTC was involved in quite a bit of rulemaking. So, for example, in M&A, there was new Hart-Scott filing requirements. You may see a sort of toning down on that a little bit so they can make the regulatory burden a little easier for people who want to file for mergers. You also might see a change in some of the standards on what they might look at, claw back into a narrower view of what would be anti-competitive. Mm-hmm. So you'll see those things. You also see changes in other rulemakings in the consumer area. For example, they have new rules on junk fees, on the non-compete clauses, right, on click to pay. You may see a sort of clawback on those things, too. So I would pay attention to that.
What I hear you suggesting, though, is that you said that the Trump administration is going to be more data-driven. What I hear you suggesting is that the current administration was not, and that it was more ideological for the reasons why these deals weren't done. Is that what you are suggesting?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think some people interpret it that way, but they added other factors to be considered, like job impacts and other things that may not have been traditionally looked at in antitrust. I think you might see a return to some of the traditional fundamentals here.
I wonder, is there any scope for DOJ, which wants to enhance government efficiency and cut costs, to do anything on the regulatory front from a structural perspective, like combine the FTC and the Department of Justice Antitrust Division, something like that?
Well, I think that's one thing that may be proposed. It's yet to be seen what DOJ's mission is going to be on the antitrust side. Whether it's going to be based on efficiency, reducing headcount, for example. But FTC legally is an independent agency, and it will take a lot to change that legislation in order to make that happen. But what you might see is some impact on the budget. And if you see some changes to the budget, then the FTC will be forced to change priorities about what it spends on and how it spends it, in which case you may see some of the policy initiatives.
But is it redundant? Like, why do we have both of them?
I think traditionally the FTC has looked on certain categories and certain industries differently. And I think that one of the things, having a bipartisan commission, even though there's a majority in one party, and the administrative power to bring administrative cases to sort of flesh out new areas of law, makes the FTC different. And it's not really supposed to be guided by politics. So what you see is a different way of approaching those issues.